Israel Adesanya stumbles in a training session with David Goggins. Now, we saw last week those two together, and Izzy was throwing up. I don't know if this is a clip from the same workout. I just know it's a clip that just got released of them working out. He's on the stair stepper, and his legs and body are giving out to the point that he stumbles, and that's what they put out. Apparently, that's more captivating. Like seeing one stud train with another stud isn't the cool part. Seeing one stud struggling training with the other stud is the cool part. All right. I don't have a problem with it, but I do think it's interesting. Like, I will tell you, as I've gotten older, and then my life is no different than yours. I mean, sure, you can relate to this. As you get older, all you do is look back with nothing but regret and then have a fantasy of, if I could go back, what I would do. And I will spend a lot of time. I mean, I'll find myself driving. I'll find myself in bed at night. And I'm thinking of the ideal ways to train and prepare. And it's not overly sophisticated. Like, every year the Kentucky Derby is won by a horse. Every year. It's not like certain years you throw a dude in there and he outruns them. You're going to have a bigger, stronger animal. But the preparation is something that you do every single day for mental edge, for physical edge. And I do think about it a lot. What about our sport of MMA? It used to be a time if you had a wrestling base and then you were good with the boxing, boy, you had it made. Wrestling base, good with the boxing, throw a couple of leg kicks, you had it made. There was champions at points in our career that said if you have a wrestling base, high school wrestling, and you do 6 months of jiu-jitsu, that is all you need. You could take on masters, you could take on black belts. If you're in MMA with the ability to elbow to the face, you will need 6 months of jiu-jitsu. There's people that have said this. So I'll just think many times about that. And the reason I bring that to your attention, I'll go back to my college wrestling days. Like, I have more regret and more fantasy of being able to return to college wrestling than I do MMA. For whatever reason. So, and I will look at how little it takes to be good at wrestling, or at least how little wrestling it takes to be good at wrestling. And I come to that conclusion just because we work so hard. I mean, after practice, you could take your shirt off and wring it out and just sweat would come out of it. We would lose 8 pounds in a practice. That's just pure. So you could drink the entire practice. You're going to the waterfront, you're drinking. Even as you're putting that back in, you could lose 6.5 to 8 pounds in a practice. So you're really pouring out closer to 12 and 13 pounds, and you're putting 4 or 5 back in. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. I'm just sharing like how hard we worked. It would be very hard to imagine that you could work harder or that you could work for more time. A couple hours in the evening, hour and 15 minutes early in the day on your own. That was a drill and a run, a drill and a lift, whatever it might be. And I will look back, though, at the sophistication I believed the sport I was in had, and I will look back at how easy, apparently, it is to learn that sport. Because of all that time and all those pounds of sweat, we sure didn't wrestle very much. And, I mean, I will think about that. I will think about the effort and the energy that I would show up with each day to practice. And the clock on the wall. And then I'll realize that I'm running in a circle. Told I'm getting warm. Probably was. No problem. And then I realize I'm rolling out my shoulder. before you know it, we're circled up and somebody's counting and we're doing jumping jacks. And of course, like a little kid, somebody missed the count and you got to restart the jumping jack. And then you're going to do the same thing with push-ups and somebody missed the count. They weren't counting loud enough and we're going to start over again. And fair enough. I find myself in a hurdler stretch, whatever that is. And I find myself in a butterfly stretch. I'm just sharing with you. I look up at the wall and there's anywhere from 22 to 25 minutes gone in the name of warming up, which I think it did succeed to do. I remember my body feeling pretty good. I got good and warm. I'm just sharing with you. I'm now 22 to 25 minutes into a workout and I have done nothing that I will do on Saturday when the lights are on. I have done nothing that if a referee saw me do, I can score a single point for. Not one single point. But whatever energy and calories and mental ability for practice I've had, I'm 22 minutes in. All right. So now comes my first shot, my first time sizing the guy, changing elevation, penetrating, getting a leg, working to a finish, coming out in a position that if a referee saw on Saturday, he would give me points for. Now I'm doing something. And that would last less time than the warm-up. It's called a drill. And we would not drill or open drill for that 22 to 25 minutes. We would do the thing that we're going to do in the sport that we're there to do. We would do that for less time than we would run in circles and roll our shoulders and do jumping jacks for. And practice was very hard and there was plenty of wrestling. I'm just sharing for you. Get that drill in. Now you're good and you're good and warm, but there's also a point of energy where, hey, I'm starting to get tired doing this, and I've got to actually wrestle, so now we got to wrestle. So we can't just extend the drill. We can't just make the drill 40 minutes or 45 minutes. It doesn't work that way. There's so much energy and so much time, and you got to really maximize where you're going to place that. But coming out the back end of practice was like coming in the front end of practice. I'm finding myself running in a circle. I'm finding myself doing push-ups, calling them out. And when somebody's not loud enough, we start over. Sometimes I find myself doing sprints. And these are good things. These are good. These are hard. These have nothing to do with the sport. At least not anything that I could ever score a point with. There will be no point in a match where I will start sprinting. There'll be no point in a match where I will start doing push-ups. So I try to figure that out, though. I try to figure out, does that make it waste or does that supplement it? And I don't have the answer, because the best wrestlers, the guys that achieved what I wanted to achieve, they were doing the same thing. They were running in circles, and they were doing jumping jacks, and they're finishing practice with sprints. So apparently it works. But to what degree? To what measure? And I would struggle with this in MMA. When I got into MMA, I would find myself jumping rope. And I would jump rope. I jumped a lot of rope. I never didn't jump rope for 3 5-minute rounds, which is 15 minutes. That's a lot. That's a lot. But I generally jump rope for 5-5-minute rounds. And that was just in a practice. And I remember thinking, can I trade the rope for a shadow box? Because I can sell myself on the shadow box. The shadow box is real. I am in the actual fight going to move around. My feet are going to move. I'm going to be coming in this. Can I shadow instead? And the answer was always no. You're going to do the rope and then you're going to shadow. And it's like, okay, I'm into it, but either way, practice is only 2 hours. So if I spend 25 minutes on a rope with 1 minute in between, that's 30 minutes. That is 25% of practice doing something that I will never do in the cage. There will never be a time when they hand me a rope. So I do get the idea, get your legs and get your fundamental. Like I don't resist these ideas, and I will tell you now, as a coach myself, I have the guys under me doing those same things. I got them running in circles. I got them rolling their shoulder out. They don't count loud enough on the push-ups. They're going to start. I do all of the same things, but I'm just sharing with you that I do look for the balance. So when I'm watching Izzy, I'm watching a champion of the world. I'm watching a guy that has the answers, not maybe, for sure, 100% knows what it takes. And he went to a guy who might have the answers. I wouldn't dismiss or disrespect Goggins. He might have the answers. I don't know it for sure. He does not have the success. He does not have the world championships, but he might have them. And he's got Izzy on a stair stepper, learning to fail. And he's learning to fail at something that he will never, in any circumstance, do in the octagon. And so I do wonder myself, where is that tipping point? Where is it? Why, if you're learning to do MMA and you're in practice, why are you doing anything other than MMA? Is it so easy to learn that you can waste time? Is getting a black belt in jiu-jitsu so easy to learn that I can waste practice time doing jumping jacks? Because every single jiu-jitsu gym does it. So I'm going to have to come to the conclusion, yes. Yes. So then I wonder, okay, well, if I just take the fat off the bone, how quickly can I get a workout in? How quick can I get in and out in a day and still get a black belt at the same time as these guys? And you can't say that they worked harder, they did more, because their sprints are not tested for a black belt. Their climbing of the rope is not tested. Their sit-ups and their back crawls and their stripping back and forth and their bridges and their gymnastics is not tested. So if I'm going to spend time on what is going to be tested, if those guys are in there 2 hours a day, could I do it in 40 minutes? Because when I watch one of your practices, that's about what you spend doing this. Now, I'm not judging. I'm not telling you I've got the answers. I'm telling you I'm looking for them. And I'm admitting to you as a coach, I do the same thing. But I do begin to wonder why. Why are we doing things in practice for a sport that are not asked of us ever for that sport?